I was a kid, I took piano lessons and got into music that way. But when I was at school, we had like a show, you know, in the auditorium, and they had these kids come out and mime the new Beatles tunes, and it was loud, which was surprising, and I found that very exciting. So anyway, my brother had a guitar that my parents got him because he was like sort of ahead of me listening to this stuff, and then he just, you know, he kind of lost interest, and I picked it up and started playing and seemed to have a talent for it, and I took lessons, and the next thing you know I had a band and played the dances for the school, and yeah, eventually I thought, yeah, being in a band was probably what I would do. And I did. I played in a band for a number of years, but never really made any money or became famous. I think my standards were too high, and I couldn't meet them. I couldn't play well enough to enjoy, you know, to play the music I really liked. So I just kind of fizzled out, and then I ended up moving to Arizona, where all I could find was country music. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And then got married and had kids and sold my equipment and just played acoustic guitar in the living room for the next, you know, 30 years. I was into actually British progressive rock, all the groups like Yes and Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Genesis, King Crimson, that sort of thing, the real technical music. 10 years later, I ended up moving to the UK. I traded all my electric equipment to my son for his acoustic guitar and came over here and played it, you know, in the living room. And then one day I thought, no, I want to start playing electric guitar again. So I bought one, got an amp, and started practicing and playing, you know, just around the house. And I started sitting in at the pub with a guy, with Tim. And yeah, and since then he's been showing me jazz tunes that he plays. I get the chords, practice them at home, you know, and now it's a weekly thing. I play every week with him, and I'm learning a lot and getting better at it. So eventually I should be able to get a curry out of this thing. I haven't really decided what I want to do. I do like going down to the pub and playing for an hour. It's, you know, it's a lot of fun, and I'm starting to get more compliments than I used to get. So it's improving. The other thing I'm working on is doing recordings with a friend of mine who lives in Kentucky, and he records a song. He's writing songs. He'll do an acoustic guitar and a vocal, and I'll get it and add some guitar parts, and we have a drummer who's in New Jersey, and he adds drums, and Vic, the guy who writes the songs, are doing bass and keyboards and stuff, and the tunes are coming along. They're good, and I think his intent is to actually make a CD and possibly sell it on the internet, or, you know, see what he can do. He's not sure whether to do that, actually do the songs and sell them, or to actually present the songs for people to buy and, you know, or lease, or whatever you do with a song. And make their own records, you know, and he would just get royalties, I suppose.
Another high in the 90s, in the shade for 7 days, and it won't rain before that eclipse moon. There'll been a hound at my window, and his name is Jimmy Fear, and he won't leave a penny when he goes. I lost my job with the union, but I never lost my pride.
There's something you can't get from, you know, you have to have people in the room to play. Well, you don't have to, but I think it's better playing with people in your room, you know, when you're all together. But what we've done, see, we've played in the past, because we were all in the band in the 70s, and sort of work it out on tape, you know, or on the hard drive, to make it sound like we're playing together. And it really, you know, I think it does work. It does have a live sort of feel to it. It's a tune called Another High in the 90s, which is a kind of a bluesy tune, but it's got the most, I guess, self-indulgent guitar on it, which is what I specialize in. I've learned the chords, and then I record the chords, and then I loop them through the computer and play solos along with them. You know, with blues, you have one scale, and you know, really one or two scales to play, so that your solos are not easy, but picking the notes isn't very difficult. You know, it's just a matter of how you phrase everything. But in the jazz thing, you have all these chord progressions and changes, you know, modulations. So you really have to know what scales go with what chords. So by looping them, you know, you find one particular part with, say, 4 chords in it. You loop that together and you play a half hour with that, and by the time you're finished, you've got a lot fewer sour notes than when you start. And that's what I'm doing, and eventually you know, it'll be pretty clean and sound like I know what I'm doing. I'll never give up the progressive rock from 30 years ago. I just, you know, I listen to that still, a lot of it. But I am finding a lot of jazz now. I like it more now than I did, and I appreciate it more. And I'm finding stuff, you know, like there's some funky stuff that these bands are musically equivalent to the progressive rock. The progressive rock I always liked because it was a very sophisticated kind of playing. It was like real music, real chords. It wasn't just tinkering around. They were writing some serious stuff. And the jazz stuff is that too. There's some real coordination, you know, among all the players. So yeah, I like playing them both, I think.